Y'all know what it is. It's Big Diz, man. Hey, I need y'all to like, share, and subscribe, man. One-on-one Mike D, man. You know what I mean? Shout out to my boy Miggity. Shout out to Fire, man. Y'all know what we're doing H-Town. Let's keep rocking, man.
You know what it is. We back. You already know who. It's the one-on-one with Mike D. And tonight I got my screwed up brethren. I got my sweet tooth brother. I got my LL Cool J brother. Figure that out. Toe down in the building, man. You know what it is, man.
Miggity D.
What's up, brother?
Shoot, man, I'm just blessed to be here, man. Blessed to be here. Super fan. Actually, man, I've been seeing all your content everywhere, man. From national syndicated talk shows to popping up on my feed all the time. Man, you will never ever surprise me, man. You always know where to be at. Right place, right time.
Thank you, brother.
So proud of you, man.
You know, I learned from the best. We
Oh,
work
get outta
hard.
here.
Whatever we do, we innovators.
That's right.
Like yourself, man, you've always been ahead of the curve, bro.
I try to be.
You've always been the one, like, I'm the first white guy in the screwed up clique. You feel me? I'm the first, you know, of our generation white guy to go and get a major deal. You feel me?
I feel you.
When only Eminem was popping.
And now, like, everybody's doing country rap music. Little Jello Rolls getting awards for it. Everybody calling me up. And it's one of those things that, you know, back then when you're in it, you don't realize the longevity of it, you know. And if you're a constant innovator, it's just something that is in your blood, you know. Like Hawk said, Toe Down is a trendsetter, you know. We don't follow trends, we set the trend.
Set the trends.
And that's what's always been, you know, in the forefront of my mind is don't be a follower, be a leader, and then let people follow you. And so that's what we do.
That's been one of your strengths this whole time that guys like me been the pull for. For y'all that don't know, man, DJ Screw himself inducted Toe Down into the Screwed Up Clique. He is an official Screwed Up Clique member by DJ Screw himself. You understand what I'm telling y'all? I'm not telling y'all about somebody that Hawk put on after, not saying that that's super official if you got put on by Hawk, but I'm talking about from the OG himself, DJ Screw, man. You know what I mean? How does that make you feel, brother?
You know, Screw and I had a special bond. You know, speaking of Hawk, Hawk is he was the one that introduced me to Screw. And once I went to Screw's house, you know, it's almost like once you go to Screw's house, you don't leave for a very long time. You know, there's no couches, there's no seats, so you can't get comfortable unless you're gonna sit on some, you know, on some records. But
Crates.
you know, crates. But you know, R.I.P. Hawk, man. I love that dude. He was always 1,000 with me. But he introduced me to Screw, and my brother and I show up at Screw's house. We knock on the door, and from beyond the door, we get, you know, who is it? I was like, it's Toe Down. And when he came to the door, as he opens the door, he's putting down his AK. And I'm like, is this not a way to be greeted by the great DJ Screw, right? It's like two white guys show up. The first thing you think about is the police, right? You know, so Screw was a fool, man. It was a fool. But, you know, I'll never forget that very first night I met Screw. 3-2 was there, and DJ Screw was there. And it was almost like it was surreal. It was like I was almost in a movie. Screw was there with his turntables. 3-2 was, you know, providing the party supplies, and it was a memory that lives in my mind like it's a movie. You know, when you meet somebody you idolize for so long, and then you're able to build a friendship from that, it was just amazing. You know, Screw could call me at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I go show up for him. You know, hey, Toe Down, I need you here, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And without hesitation, I was on the road. It wasn't even a question, you know. And to lose Screw at such an early part in his career, I could only imagine the things that he would have been able to do. And my brother always told me, he was like, man, if I'd have met Screw in high school, we would have been billionaires, you know.
For real.
Screw was just on that trend-setting, you know, time. It was, the way he was able to, supply the streets with music that still lives today. And now you got these youngsters that are, banging Screw, and they'll be like, man, I got this tape and I got this tape and I was like, you got a CD. That's what you got. We have the tapes.
Yeah, the tapes.
We have the tapes. I still got a couple gray ones in my, vault right now. But,
on top.
it's one of the things that, when you're in the moment, you never know that might be the last time you're hanging out with somebody. And before he passed, I was with him probably 24 hours before, and he was laying down some vocals for us. And Screw never worked off of CDs. He wanted records to chop and screw the first album. And I remember getting him the acetate test presses on wax so he could screw down the album. And then I got the phone call that he wasn't with us no more, man. And it was just like, we were going to be the Eminem and Dre of the South. Bernard had the tour already lined up. We were going to hit the road. The country rap tune was officially certified by Screw. It was something new, and we were ready to run and gun. And then, tragedy happens.
Talk about, before we go there with Screw, talk about receiving that induction from him. Let's walk us through how that happened. And
it's crazy. When he came to lay down the vocals on the country rap tune, he did multiple passes. And every time he did a pass, it got better and better, the stuff that he would say, And the reason that we recorded Screw first is because we wanted his audio on the wax so he could then do his thing to it. And so we recorded all his vocals first.
When you say vocals, explain to him what you mean by that.
So what we did is, for the country rap tune, the idea was originally to put Pimp C and Bun B on there. That was the original idea, the country rap tune featuring Pimp C and Bun B. But Bun B and Pimp C just got off of Big Pimpin'. And I mean, Pimp C, he was being generous when he was like, yo, Toe, I need 25 to be on it. And I was like, I would have given my left foot to pull up 25K to give him and Bun 25K just to be on the song. It had been a pleasure, But at the time, my budget didn't allow for that, And so the next best option, the most country boy that I knew, was Hawk. And so, Hawk and Big Pokey. And
Hold on.
And so what ended up happening was the song became...
Hold up. I gotta interrupt you. I was at the studio with Hawk laid that thing that day, man. I was trying to get on that too, man. I don't know what happened, but hey, man. Hey, because it's another country boy, Mike D, Pokey, and Hawk. Oh my God. But anyway, my bad.
And so as you know, what happened in the studio was magical. And so we needed that perfect bookend. And that perfect bookend to us was to take a country song that was from Houston and have it screwed by DJ Screw. And that was going to be the perfect bookend of the album. The country rap tune was going to lead off as the first single, and then the surprise track at the end was going to be DJ Screw screwing down the country rap tune and really putting that Houston stamp on things.
And talking through the tape we're talking through it as he's scratching like
Correct.
He did on this. That's what I meant by vocals.
Right.
Like he did.
Like it would have been a great tape.
Yeah.
So we were trying to mainstream that great tape and
format, right,
and catch that magic, right? And so we were recording in a makeshift studio. Grizz was mixing in the garage, and we were recording in the closet. But what happened is every time Screw laid down a vocal, it got better and better and better. And the last take that he did, he was like toe down first white boy in the Screwed Up Click. And when you hear it, you want to stop everything and just play that over again. Like, what did he just say? What just happened?
That was a big deal, man.
Is this real? And it didn't. I didn't understand what that meant at the time. It didn't click. It was just like, man, like Screw said my name on a tape. Like, what's up? Like, Anybody who's ever listened to Screw, imagine if Screw said your name. That's how I felt. That's how much
That's the whole catch of the Screw tape, is waiting to hear what names he gonna say. Those were those guys. If you say he say your name on the tape, man, you have just become that guy.
And so what ended up happening was, like any good song, it gets bootleg first. And so we put that song out in the street with DJ Screw on it, and it just blew up from there. Unfortunately, when Elektra went to go edit things, that's not the version they end up using on the actual CD. So the feeling I got was, man, I can't believe Screw did that. And then when I got the final mix back and it wasn't featured on the album, I was a little bit disappointed, but I understood that I had to play policy with the big boys. I had to give a little bit. They gave me a bunch of money.
Tell me what label you on.
So we got signed to Electro Records, which was, Missy Elliott, Metallica, the Eagles, Busta Rhymes, that vein, Elektra fell under the Warner system, so it was a Warner Brothers company, and Sylvia Rome signed us, and the guy that put our CD in her face was Lump. And so Lump did us a solid. He said, hey, man, it's on Sylvia's desk. She wants to sign you. And I was like, okay, this is different. This is a black executive wanting to champion a white guy from the South.
The new Eminem.
It was right there. And, we had conflict early on. Bernard had conflict with her early on, I should say. I didn't have conflict with her.
We'll talk about Bernard later.
But, she wanted me to do things like make fun of Madonna, and Bernard didn't want to cross those lines, And so through that yin and yang, she gave us a lot of money. And what we did with that money is we came back to Houston and built one of the first all-digital studios. And when Screw passed, that's where a lot of people then came to record. And we ended up doing a lot of great music, from the Screwed Up Click to Swisher House to if you heard rap music come out of Houston from 2000 to 2011, either we mixed it, mastered it, produced it, engineered it. They were over at Toe Downs recording and making it happen. Everything from Little Flip to Squad Up. I mean, just the list is endless. I mean,
did you ever record Lil Wayne there?
Yeah. So while Lil Wayne was doing his mixtapes at U of H, he needed a spot to record, and they came and shot an MTV special there, and we recorded all his mixtapes and everything there, and again, living in that moment, you never think back like, man, this is a movie that's happening, but it's your life. Yeah. It's what you live. At night I was a dope boy, and during the daytime I was a rapper.
Talk to him about the first digital studio. What you mean digital? Like,
so
how important that is? Where did you come from? Because everybody's digital now. That's nothing.
Yeah. So back in the Gap, what we'd have to do is we used to record on DAT tapes or ADAT tapes, and they were literally like larger cassette tapes that you would then have a machine that would only record 8 tracks at a time, and you'd have to have multiple machines, tape machines, in order to record. So that was called analog, running on tape. And at the time, people hated on the new digital sound. It sounded too crisp. It sounded too clean. It didn't have any warmth to it. There was 1,000 reasons why people would try to convince you to stay with the old style. Mm-hmm. And Bernard and I saw something in Pro Tools in the new digital format that would allow us to do different type of mixes, quicker, faster, more efficient. Before, you'd have to go to the studio and you'd literally take a piece of tape and run it across the board and write down what the mix settings were in order to recall that mix in case you wanted to edit it again. Thanks. Well, now with digital, a computer, one button, total recall, it all pops up just like you sound. It sounds just like you had left it. And so that was an advantage to us. Now we have endless tracks instead of just 24 tracks. So imagine if you brought in a beat, let's say from Swift, Swift always had 1,000 sounds in a song.
Yes.
So each one of the tracks took. So if Swift brought you a track that had 24 sounds in it,
Wow.
you had to use all those tapes just for the mix of the music, and then bounce that down so you could record your vocals on it. But what digital did, it allowed us to have endless amounts of tracks. So we could have 24 tracks in our song. We could have multiple vocals, multiple backups, multiple backing tracks, and you could literally do 100 tracks if you wanted to.
Wow.
And so with our check from Elektra, we built one of the first all digital studios, and the rest is kind of history, as they say. Everybody came through, and multiple platinum albums came out of that house. Multiple hundreds of pounds of weed were sold out of that house.
We get that in the next chapter, man. But right now, man, we're going to take a small break real quick, man, and we'll be back after these moments with more Toe Down, because, hey, we just getting started, man.
Amen.
Let's go.
Hey, Get Money Pro, baby. Pulled up, shout it. You asked for it, you got it. Smoked Out Beat, Open Verse Challenge. Make sure you go to youtube.com, type in GMP LILC. Pick this beat right here, you know what I'm saying? Then go rap the verse. The winner gonna receive an interview with one-on-one with Mike D. So make sure you tag him. Now don't tag him, collab with him, you know what I'm saying? Collab with me. Collab with Trill Talk, no Pure Talk. Collab with Rap Economics, man. Represent, man. R.I.P. Screw, R.I.P. Michael 5000, man. It's on.
Welcome back, y'all, man. We are back, man. I'm still in here with Toe Down, because y'all know it go down when Toe Down in the house, you feel me? Man, Toe, please elaborate on your come up. Where did you and Bernard start this thing called life? And take us back when y'all were teenagers, man.
Man, so I still remember my brother going to Sound Waves and buying rap music. The Fat Boys, Run DMC, EPMD, LL Cool J, and watching my brother grow up, going to middle school and high school, he would always, introduce me to this new thing called rap. And so growing up in a house like that, when you have an older brother who is bringing, the music in, the flavor, we bonded over music, bonded over, spinning records and re-rapping the songs like we were in the videos and doing all that stuff. And I've always been close to my middle brother, and we've just had this bond where, he always laughs and says we make one good person. He's got the analytical mindset, and I'm not scared. So when you mix those two types of people, one who will analyze everything, and then one that's not, I'll say I'm not smart enough to know better. I'm the jump first. Fuck it, let's make it happen. Mm-hmm. Where he's more of plotting and planning, and early on we just had this bond. And what ended up happening was I was hooping one day, and a guy said, "Hey, while you're on the court, you're talking shit, back and forth. Well, during this one pickup game, I was rapping. I was hooping and rapping at the same time. And then after the game, the guy was like, "Have you ever been to a studio before?" And I was like, "Man, get out of here." Like, I thought the only studios existed were in Hollywood. I didn't know better. And what ended up happening, he took me to this studio in Missouri City called Bernie and Shatiro's. And they produced Tell Me Something Good for UGK. And it was this black African lady and her husband. And I was blown away that she had produced this gangster track, Tell Me Something Good, with Pimp C on. I was blown away. I walked into the studio and I fell in love. And I immediately went back that night and told my brother, I was like, "Hey, listen, I have an audition with Rap A Lot. I just walked into this studio over here that produced this UGK record. I ended up blowing the audition at Rap A Lot and didn't even get to make it in the building. I literally went there with my homeboys, high as hell, barred out, thinking that we're going to be the flyest things in sliced bread. And we went over there and gave the most horrible performance, not prepared. And then when I told my brother what had happened, he was like, "You're really serious about this music thing, right?" He was like, "Well, look, if somebody's gonna steal some money from you, it's gonna be me. So let's just go ahead and make this happen." And so what my brother ended up doing, he ended up coming with me to Bernie and Shatero's and seeing the studio, and he caught the bug. And he was like, "All right, let's do this. Let's put together some songs, and let's make this rap dream of yours happen." And so we ended up putting out a group tape called Thugs of Another Kind. And on the front cover were 3 black guys. You didn't know that 3 white guys were rapping, but that was just part of Bernard's marketing mind. He was like, "We're going to sell it as this older black group called Thugs of Another Kind. You're not going to know what it is. You're going to pop it in your deck, and it's going to be banging." And so what ended up happening is, selling out of the trunk of your car, following Kiki on tour, running behind Jam Down, messing with SPM and Sylvia Coy and learning the game and selling $5 posters and selling, $15 tapes and CDs and learning the game as we go. We ended up selling 5,000 units out of the trunk of our car. And that's what really got me to that next step. And my brother said, "Hey, listen, I'm not interested in doing the group thing. The other 2 guys, one wants to run off and have 9 baby mamas. The other guy, he wants to, fulfill other ambitions." He was like, "I'll do one more record with you, and that's it. If it doesn't take off, hey, you've lived your dream. Let's move on to something else." And I remember he sent me to the he sent me to the studio that day to come up with a dance track. And what ended up coming out was the country rap tune, something slow, melodic. And I ended up producing that track with Grizz. And from then on, as they say, it kind of is history from there. But Bernard's always been there for me. When we started growing weed, the music business changed in 2007, 8, when we went from selling CDs, wholesale, $7 a CD, to making pennies on a download. And so Bernard, at that point, we had a studio that was operational, and we were making good money doing studio time and selling tracks, but our main money came from selling CDs. And now when you're not making that, $200,000-$300,000 every quarter, you got to do something else. And so from one of our last little bit of money from Electra, we went and opened up a grow house. Somebody that I had known knew how to grow weed. And not only grow weed, but grow some really good weed. And so what ended up happening is from that one little grow house, it expanded to that. At the time of my indictment, my federal indictment, we had 21 grow houses.
Oh, my.
So, things started to escalate very quickly. When you have really good product and the streets know about it, it moves very quickly. And what you think is a lot is not a lot. So in order to get 20 pounds a week, that's only one house that can produce that. So in order to get 20 pounds a week, you need a minimum of 12 houses because it takes 90 days for the weed to grow from clone to bagging it. So in order to come down with one 20-pound group a week, you need a minimum of 12 houses. And so we couldn't sell weed fast enough. 20 pounds, just between me and you, Mike, we could move 20 pounds in a Friday night.
What year is this?
This was 2007, 8,
what
9,
year is it
10,
now?
11, 12, 2011, yeah.
What year is it now?
It's 2026.
So that's what we're looking at. What?
And I was like,
Hey, bro, I came and got 20 pounds a week.
I mean, those were the
You
days.
guys had to make sure it was a statute of limitation. So I can just imagine, oh my God. I mean, me and Gutter come through and grab a dub.
Yeah, so those were the days of the $1,400 quarter pounds. The 125 sevens. The $450 ounces. Those were those days.
When hey man, we literally come get a QP from bro to have a zip to smoke. That was my mission before I started really coming heavy. I five for real. I got the all. So I'm finna sell 3 zips throughout the day to be able to smoke a zip
All by
for
yourself.
free.
That's right.
Because a quarter pound was what you said?
1,400.
1,400. I think the sweet tooth might have been about 1,500 to 1,600.
If you smoked White Widow, Sweet Tooth 3,
zip for
Super
free.
Skunk,
At 500 a zip.
AK-47, you know.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have interrupted. You just did something, player. Hold on. Please take this high five. Hey, start that list back over.
So White Widow, Blueberry, Sweet Tooth 3, Super Skunk, AK-47, Shoreline. Those were our products. So if you smoked those in the 2000s, you were smoking toe down shit. So
I just used to love that sweet tooth.
everybody had a favorite.
Hey,
and Bernard
man.
knew if you had a favorite because that was the most expensive one.
Yeah, that's why I say he said 14. Bernard would hit me. Where you at, Bernard? Hey, man, I think I got more 16 in the beginning until I start getting the lows. Hey, man, I want my money, Bernard. You owe me money, guy. Where you at, boss? I tell you what, come back for part 2, and we'll be even. I don't think he got a problem with that.
Not at all. Not at
Anyway,
all.
my
Not at
bad,
all.
brother.
So, what ended up happening is daytime was filled with going to the different grow houses, making sure the plants were growing, and the nighttime was filled with recording, working on other artists. And
How many did you grow in each house?
So on an average 2,500 square foot house, we could run 6 1,000 watt lights. And in each one of the houses, there'd be an average of about 125 plants in each one of the houses. And from that, we would get anywhere between 18 to 36 pounds per house, depending on what we were growing in that house. Because you don't want to grow a whole bunch of varieties in one room because now you have different sized plants. You want to grow one variety in one house. That way all the lights can stay at the same level and all the plants can be exactly the same. But the Sweet Tooth 3 produce like a mug. The White Widow, the Blueberries, those all produce, anywhere between, 3 ounces to 5 ounces of plant. We had plants that we would string up to the ceiling because they'd fall over. They were so heavy. We were running CO2 in the room so we could increase the nutrients by, 2,400 parts per million. That's a grower thing if y'all know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But we were able to really do some magic with these plants. And so what ended up happening is we couldn't grow it fast enough. We would sell 20 pounds in a weekend, and I distinctively remembering one night cutting a whole bunch of weed up with Bernard. We're supposed to meet at the studio, and he's supposed to take his, and I'm supposed to give him mine, and we're supposed to go and, take care of our customers, and Bernard ended up selling everything. And so, to get back at Bernard, I just went in the back, opened up the closet, grabbed a whole bunch of money, put it in my pockets, and told him I wasn't coming back till I spent all the money. And
you just grabbed no count, that no look, that what they call it, that Michael Jordan pass.
That's right. It was one of the things. If you knew Bernard and how he loved counting money, his kryptonite was toe down spending money. Because you couldn't spend it fast enough at the rate it was coming in. Any toy that you wanted, any real estate that you wanted. Anything you can think of was yours. I was literally Elroy Jetson with an unlimited budget. I could literally go in the mall, and in order for me to go out just for one evening, I needed a new fit. You're gonna go, spend $2-3 grand in the mall on your fit. You're gonna, make sure when you go to the club, you gotta have a couple bottles. That's a stack right there. You're tipping the valet guy $100 just to save your spot. You're gonna hit 3 or 4 spots in a night.
Get your car detailed. Get your
already.
Locks, get your locks done.
Hey, man, you gotta look fly from head to toe. And so, when I was mad at my brother, I would spend money frivolously. Well, I spent all money frivolously, to be honest with you. It was just something that I did,
They was getting so much money, Five. The boy say that that's how I can't wait till we got the problem, Five. You just pissed me off, Five. I don't want to talk to you for 3 hours. I'm finna go spend about 100 grand. Because now those clothes is Louis Vuitton. It's disrespectful now.
I always thought I was fly with my new iceberg fit or, something like that. But one day Bernard and I were supposed to meet for lunch, and I decided to pull off and go buy a Maserati. And when I pulled up to lunch, I was in a brand new Maserati with red guts, and Bernard was like, "Take it back."
Back now, I can hear him. I know he lost his mind. I know he went crazy. I know he came and said, "Are you fucking crazy? Or we're going to jail."
And I told him, I was like, "Hey man, you know, rich people don't go to jail." I was telling him that, and he was like, "You know what? You're right, but stupid people do." You know, and so what ended up happening is. Federal cases aren't built on investigation; they're built on snitches. And so what ended up happening is you know, one of my exes pillow talked to one of her, you know, husbands, and he was ended up smoking crack in a school zone. And to get him off of that case, he told about a rapper that lived in Missouri City on the golf course on the 3rd fairway. And while I'm at the MTV Music Awards, I get a phone call from Bernard saying, "Hey, don't worry about it. I called Kent Schaefer. You're going to be okay." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, Kent Schaefer's a criminal defense attorney. What are you talking about? I'm going to be okay." And I was like, "Well, they raided your house while you were at the awards." And so that just kind of blew my whole weekend and my vibe. Like, am I going to go home and get arrested at the airport? Are there going to be TV cameras everywhere? And when I came back to Houston, it was crickets. We came back in on a late flight from LA, and there was no, you know, cars waiting for me, no police cars, none of that stuff.
You went back to your house?
I went back to my house, and my maid at the time was so amazing. When the cops raided the house, she went in there afterwards and started cleaning everything up. Oh, so she was, so, you know, shout out to her, you know. But so I get back home, and I'm literally in my house for 3 months before I get a knock on the door. And so, you know.
You were scared to leave, too?
It wasn't I was scared to leave. I knew something was coming. Kent Schaefer would call weekly to the Fort Bend Sheriff's Office and say, "Hey, are you going to arrest my client? If so, I'd like to bring him in." And they're like, "We're going to do it on our time." You know, because they were building their case. They didn't know, you know, and so they wanted to make sure that, you know, they had the TV cameras out, and sure as shit, one day I get a knock on my door, and
they took your cameras?
They took everything. So what they did is, when they did the investigation, when the feds did the investigation, they put cameras on top of the light poles. So we're thinking we're being slick, hopping from car to car in all these underground parking lots and swapping out here and swapping out there. Meanwhile, they're watching everything from video from these cameras on the light poles, and they're tracking Little Flip's Maybach. They're tracking Wayne's cars. They're tracking all these stars. So when I get arrested, they're like, "Tell us about your friends." I'm like, "Man, I don't even know what you're talking about." You know, so they wanted me to, like, kind of put other people under the bus, and I just wasn't willing to do that.
Yeah, all they did is come get something to smoke on. Like, are they crazy?
Well,
but then, did they know the magnitude of the other houses, or they just knew
so
about yours?
so what they end up doing is they would end up tracking the license plates from car to car. And they would end up following some of the growers that would come in, and they would follow them back to those houses, and that's how they got the other houses. So from one snitch, it led to this, you know, mega arrest where they arrested 7 of us at the same time.
Jimmy too, right?
Jimmy was on a different case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Southside Jimmy.
Southside Smoke
Yeah.
Shop
Jimmy used to come by.
White shoes Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy used to come by, and he used to pick up 10, 15 at a time. That boy was he was nice. He was nice.
For some reason, I thought y'all were it's all good, but yeah, rest in peace, Jimmy. That's why.
Southside Smoke Shop was a staple on the South Side, and Jimmy was a great client for many years. Good dude. And
he followed your blueprint to the T, because boy,
Man.
you were his everything. You know, he got attached to me and Roe, and we didn't let him go.
That's right.
That's why every year at that block party it was either Roe or Mike D and Roe. You know
That's
what
right.
I mean? That was
a lot of great
guy.
times out there with him. But
so okay, let's go back. So when the feds you say you left off saying when the feds building the case, they make sure that they have the cameras, and before they came and picked you up, they wanted to review all the cameras. They wanted to make sure that it was rock solid.
yeah, the feds
So
don't
take
pick
us
up.
from there.
Yeah, the feds don't pick up a case unless you're going to get convicted. And what they do is they go to each person that they arrest and they say, "Hey, listen, we're going to attach the brother's weight onto your case if you don't start talking." And you're looking at 40 years. Because back then in the feds, everything is done on a chart. So your criminal history plus what you were caught with equals somewhere on this chart. And so what they were able to say is, hey, listen, there's a mandatory minimum of 10 years on all the charges we're about to charge the Terrio brothers with. Because they called us a drug trafficking organization.
Yeah, I want the news. I know 5 don't
Yeah, man.
You got to put that in here.
Yeah, so when they arrested us, you know, we were just a couple homeboys growing weed. But when the feds say it's a drug trafficking organization, and they're charging Bernard with 4 points for leader and organizer, and myself as a leader and a manager of this stuff, and we're like, no, man, we're just a bunch of potheads that, you know, like to grow weed, you know. And so what ends up happening is they turn these friends of yours into snitches. So out of the 7 people on my case, 5 of them turned federal witness.
Oh, my God.
So, you know, you can beat 1 snitch at trial, maybe 2 snitches, but you're not going to beat 5 of them. And so, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, well, who am I going to tell on? I'm going to tell on my brother? It's like, no, I'll just sit quietly and do my time. I mean, they told me the worst I could get was 36 months. I didn't know I was going to end up with an 87-month sentence, you know. I was like, I'm going to be out of here. I do the drug class. I'll be out in a year. That's what my mindset was, you know. But when, you know, the judge, you know, smacked that gavel and it was 87 months, I was like.
How much time is that?
So that's a little over 7 years.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And you expecting to do how many?
Well, at the Fed, you got to do 80% of your time.
So
I end up doing.
What was in your head that you were thinking you were?
I was maybe thinking, you know, getting the drug class, 36 months, being home in a year, 18 months tops. That's what my mindset was. That's what I had, you know, stashed away, where I was going to be home in a couple years and everything's going to be gravy and I'll be all right. And, you know, I didn't think about lasting 5 years in the Feds. That's what I ended up doing, 5 years and some change, you know, in the Feds, you know. And, you know.
Okay, so talk about how they, you say you were at the house waiting 30 days. Let's go from there. How did they?
Yeah, so, you know, I'd watched this DVD on this guy of Never Get Busted. It was these DVDs that were ran advertisements in the back of High Times, and they talked about how if the cops ever approach your door, tell them to have the dispatch call you on the phone to explain the warrant to you. And, you know, I'm watching this DVD taking all this in, right? So the Fort Bend County knocks on the door. They say, open up, we have a warrant. And I'm like, okay, have your dispatch call me on the phone. And before I could even get have your they kicked in the door. It was already there. And I mean, at that point, I'm like, all right, ain't nothing I can do. You know, there was drugs I'm trying to flush down the toilet. There's like everything you see.
Coming, but you got your personal.
Well, listen, I'm not going to lie. I was so fly with it the night before. I had a couple chicks over there. Right. The cocaine was left out on the plate. I'm trying to get to the back to try to flush it before I get another charge. There's pills in the cabinet I got to get rid of. I mean, it's just everything. There's drink in the refrigerator. It's like, you know.
You just having a blast every night till they come.
Exactly. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to tell them this over, you know, through the door so I can walk around the house so I can get rid of all this stuff. But before I could even get the words out, they were in the house.
Ain't that a shame how that money really had you thinking that you must be bigger than somebody else? Are you crazy? Man. Well, we ain't been to prison yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so they kicked it.
Yeah, so they kicked in the door, and then what ended up happening was the state cases didn't hold water, because in the state case they say that what they charge you with is the smokable content of the plant, and so the smokable content means the buds, right? So what ended up happening was the house that they had raided in the state, I had just flipped it into the flowering cycle and there was no buds on it. So they thought they had multiple pounds, but when they weighed it, there was less than 2 ounces. So the state didn't have a case anymore, so they called their big brother Fed up. The feds came in, and that's when the feds kicked in, you know, 7 of the 21 houses, and the rest is history.
Man, bro, I'm talking about, hold up, man. That is the craziest ever there, bro.
Yeah.
We gonna continue in part 3, man. As y'all know, this story is far from over. You understand what I'm saying? So keep your seatbelt tight, and we'll be right back after these messages. Yeah! You know what it is, man. It's the one-on-one with Mike D. And right now, if you're trying to be a part of the family, hey man, if you're trying to advertise your album, if you want us to sit down and review your album, if you want to be on the one-on-one, if you're trying to get your product placed on the table right here, if you want us to promote your store, promote your clothes brand, send us shit, you know what I mean? Talk to us. The number down below is the one you can hit, or email us or DM us, but you know you're going to holler at 5 if you want to get it live. You know what I'm talking about? His number and email right there. You know what I'm talking about? Y'all hit that up and see what's going on. Become a family member of the One-on-One with Mike D. Yeah. Yeah, we are back, man. I still got my brother Toadine in the house, man.
Yes, sir.
He is just wowing us with these motherfucking real life situations and scenarios that happen, man. And just to know that, you know, that was just a quick overview. People don't really know the magnitude of what y'all was growing over there, man. Y'all was making some serious money, bro.
Yeah, so the Fed said that we were making $10 million a year.
Wow.
It wasn't $10 million, but I'll say it's somewhere in between $1 million and $10 million a year. It's, you know, it's one of the things where, again, we couldn't grow enough. We couldn't grow it fast enough. It was just as soon as it was ready, and I mean, some days it wasn't even ready and people still bought it, you know? And so it was just that good. You didn't want to wait for it. It was like, all right, listen, you can smoke it in a joint, but don't close the bag yet, you know. And so it was one of those things where, you know, people talked about it like it was a screw tape.
Yes.
And so, you know, hey man, you fuck with that toe down shit. Hey man, you fuck with that White Widow. Hey man, you fuck with that Sweet Tooth. And that's what it was. It became, you know, for me, it was. Half my day was growing weed. The other half of the day was making music. And then the in-between time was hitting the club and fucking hoes and, you know.
Fuck it,
yeah,
having fun.
Straight up.
And I know that had to feel some type of way, too, because that was the word on the streets. I want people to understand. We're talking about at the beginning of Hydro, the beginning of this, you know what I mean, this weed frenzy that hit, because all we had at that time was Cousins and that AZ shit.
That's it.
And even though Phil was that man, but it was you, what's his name, Schofield, the other Scully.
Scully.
Yeah. And it was only 3 of y'all. And Big Worm, what's my boy, Worm?
Listen, you don't know how many times I'd go out and because of my hairstyle, people be like, he got weed. He got that good weed. And whenever they saw the 4 curls, whether I was at the Rockets game or I was at, you know, a nightclub,
bro,
the weed was my business card.
Everybody knew that was you. I know in my, especially the rap, they see them curls, that's Toe Down.
That's right.
Who got the shit. Nigga, it wasn't but 3 or 4 of y'all in the whole city. Like you was just how I was with the drink. Like people don't understand it's the time and era.
That's right.
You look at that, you're the first of that kind. I was the first of my kind. Yeah, I ain't had the most drink and shit. I'm sure with people 10 times Mike D, but I was the first to do it and the most popular to do it.
Look, we still remember the great stories about Mike D on the plane and the pints leaking and everything else.
All that.
Yeah, so man, we already know, man.
You better tell them. So the police have deemed y'all organization.
Drug trafficking organization.
That pumped out over...
well, it was over $10 million a year in weed and other drugs. But, you know, as I'm sitting doing my time.
What was the name of the operation?
They called it the Terrio Drug Trafficking Operation. And then most people referred to us as the Brothers. But we never called ourselves the Brothers. We didn't walk around and be like, yeah, we're the Brothers, you know. That's what they just, you know, that's what they had in the discovery.
What's up, brother?
Exactly.
They trying to get y'all in some AB shit
man,
right there.
It was weird because when the feds framed the picture, they tried to bring in some phone calls. And they said whenever I'd use the words, all right, Bernard, hold it down, they wanted to say that was me handing over the operations to my brother. But we used hold it down in the streets like, hey, man, you going to hold it down? All right, you going to hold it down? Cool. You know, that's what it was. It wasn't like it was like drug talk. It was just normal talking, you know. So the feds like to paint these pictures in the most negative aspect. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at a Fed case, you know, you're going to end up doing some time. And we've talked to enough attorneys where they said, hey, listen, you might be able to beat this case, but you're not going to get them off your back. So find some time you're comfortable of doing and just go do that time. And what I thought was going to be a 36-month sentence ended up being an 87-month sentence that I served 60 months on. You know, so I came home and I was ready to hit the streets. You know, I was like, every night I would be in my cell looking up at the pictures. And, you know, the first year you're writing a lot of folks, you're getting a lot of folks on the phone, commissary's good. Your second year, you're not getting as many phone calls, you're not getting as many letters in, you know, people start to fall off.
I don't mean to cut you off, but take us through the courthouse real quick. Like you said that y'all got that amount of time. Can you take us through a little piece of why they gave y'all the time and what did they give Bernard?
So what ended up happening is because Bernard and I weren't willing to talk, they would get other people from the case to convert to witnesses and talk about the operation. And what they end up doing is, because you're on a chart and you're on a certain level due to your amount, they charge Bernard with 4 points of leader and organizer. The same charges that like Pablo Escobar would get or El Chapo would get, right? They tagged that on my brother because he was on the head of the indictment. So Bernard's supposed to be looking at 36 months. You add 4 points on that, you're damn nearly doubling the time that you're going to be doing in the feds. So Bernard, you know, he ended up getting, 78 months. I ended up getting 87 months. And the feds in the back are literally gambling on how much time we're getting. They were like, oh, Toe Down's only going to get 50 months. Or Toe Down's only going to get, 36 months. And they're literally gambling on how much time Bernard and I are getting. And so, it was just one of those things that when you're going through it, and keep in mind, when I got arrested, I was eating 120 pills a day. I was drinking 3-4 ounces a day. I was smoking more than an ounce a day. And so when you just go get locked up and you go into detox, you're coming off all that shit at one time, and there's nothing that you can do or escape to get that feeling off you. Your skin's crawling, you got bubble guts, you're sweating, and it doesn't stop for a week. So the whole time, the first week I'm there, I'm up and down, in and out, throwing up, on the toilet, like just can't get right, And the whole time I'm detoxing, we're going to court, So I was like, man, this has got to be, it's got to get better someday, And so after that first week, and I was able to actually detox, I started to, my mind started clearing up and things started to kind of get normal for a second. But then I met this guy from the kitchen who could bring some shit in. And so before you know it, I'm doing the same thing I was doing on the outside, on the inside. And I'm like, it just, it doesn't stop. Who you are in the streets is who you are inside. It just like, it didn't stop. And so for me, I was like, all right, I got to change something, So
I see which one of them at the door. He's one of them outside. I hear somebody chirping, one of the dogs. All 4 of them right there? Or 3 of them? Momo. She probably back there up there with Mike. If it's just Momo, that's cool. Oh, no, they already done. Oh, okay, my bad. I just sound like I heard one of them say, you know how them dogs be, boy, they interrupt the whole shit once they get.
You ain't got to tell me not to.
Man, my bad. So, yeah.
So they bitches are waiting on me right now.
Oh, Lord, I'm sorry, Tote. So we right there, you said that they was building it, trying to make bro get double.
Right.
By adding to it, yeah.
Yeah. So, but, when you go through something like that, you're up against a machine that claims to be justice, right? But at the end, it's just them. Yeah. It's just them,
Just us against just them.
That's right. And so at the end of the day, my brother and I, we were actually locked up in the same unit until we got sentenced, and then we got separated. And that was the first time me and my brother were separated in our entire life. I went to Beaumont. He went to another facility. Yeah, man, it was crazy. So
it's trying to hurt y'all, bro.
Well, they wanted to really, get my brother on some different stuff. They took his phone privileges away. They prevented him and his boy from talking. You know, at the time, you know, he was in a relationship, raising a kid, and they prevented him from really being a dad, and you know, trying to, you know,
Send him somewhere far.
yeah, man. So they sent him to Oakdale. They sent me to Beaumont, and you know, life goes on. You know, my pops ends up passing away. My mother ends up having a stroke. And so when we get out, Bernard and I, we're like, well, what are we going to do now, right? I want to get back in the entertainment business. Bernard wants to get into real estate. My mom's had a stroke. So we become my mom's 24-hour caregiver. So, you know, mom's is at that age where, you know, she ain't got much life left in her. And, you know, we tried to make my mom the center point of our life, where she didn't want for anything. If she wanted to go to the casino, we were at the casino. If she wanted to go to the movies, we went to the movies. If she wanted to go to a concert, we went to whatever she wanted to do, she was the focal point. And so I slowly started getting back into the entertainment business. And I had this, you know, this relationship with dope that it was like, why don't I do a cartoon about the dope heads? You know, there's so many different dope heads. There's pot heads, there's drink heads, you know, and at the meantime, maybe, you know, we can do like this animated series behind it, you know. And at the time, NFTs were super popular. And so what we ended up doing is we put together an NFT, and we ended up selling 1,000 of these NFTs in about 48 hours. And each one of the NFTs was about $250. So, you know, the dope heads, it's starting to catch. We got some real live action. Faison Love, Big Worm, he wants to be one of the writers on the project. And what ends up happening is my life changes in a way that you couldn't imagine. At this time, there's a lady from Las Vegas who wants me to go grow weed in Las Vegas. And she's willing to give me 50% of the business. Brand new grow facility, $5.2 million grow facility. She's like, toe down, it's brand new. You bring your knowledge out here. We can use the dope heads as the branding on it. You can take 50% of the business. I just want your weed out here. And so I run the numbers. And I call up some people and I'm like, hey, listen, can we get the old gang back together? Is it possible for us to go out here to Vegas? You know, we're going to have to uproot a couple families, but the first year we should at least clear $1 million from this stuff. And so the contracts were sent. So a week before we're about to leave for Vegas, I got 200 clones ready to go. And Ash Wednesday services around about this year, last year, I went to church for the first time in a long time, since my mom had passed away. And let me tell you, Mike, when I walked in that church house, it was almost as if I could hear God clearly telling me to follow him. But I had a contract to go grow weed in Las Vegas. So I'm literally outside the church house in tears. Am I supposed to go to Las Vegas and grow weed? That's still illegal federally, but legally state, I can grow in the state of Las Vegas. Should I go do that? Or is God calling me to something different? You know? And so from that point that night, I never left the church. Every day I'd go back to church. Every day.
Man, that's so real, bro.
So, you know, it's been a life-changing experience. Here I am turning down $1 million and, you know, to grow weed in a real place, a real facility, not to hide my passion anymore, you know. But God was calling me to do something bigger and greater. And so, long story short, man, every day that I left the church house, I would jump in a truck, and on the side of my truck, it said dope heads on the side of it. And I was like, you know what, God, if you're real, And if you're real, send me some money and I'll rip off this wrap and I'll put you on the side of my truck. If you're real. And I go home and I tell Bernard that I made this prayer, and Bernard's laughing at me. He's like, fool, you can't ask God for money like that. And so I went and talked to one of my priests, and he looked at me and he was like, Toe Down, what are you asking God money for? Like, what's the purpose? And I said, well, look, I asked God if he had sent me some money, I'd rip off the wrap on my truck and I'd put something holy up there. And he looked at me and he was like, well, I think you didn't ask for enough. It's like, God is infinite. His love is infinite. You should have asked for a lot more. And I was like, you know what, Father Bart, you're right. I should have asked for a lot more. So I went home that night and I made this beautiful email about all the things that I could serve in the community if I let Father Bart rewrap my truck for me. I could go to old folks' home and serve the elderly. I could go feed the homeless. I could go clothe the homeless. I could do prison ministry outreach. And these are all the things I'm willing to do if you would just rewrap my truck for me. And Father Bart got the email, and for a week, crickets. Nothing's happening. And so one day that I'm in church, I get a tap on my shoulder from a guy who looks like he's straight out of Sons of Anarchy. Big beard, big, bike riding dude. And he's like, hey, man, can I holler at you for a minute after service? And I'm like, I don't know if he wants to fight me or what, but I'm gonna go mess with him, right?
Thanks, yeah.
So his name is Chris Hart, and he's the youth minister for St. Michael's. And so Chris hands me this guy's number. His name is Deacon Hayes. And so he hands me Deacon Hayes' number, and he says, hey, man, Father Bart and I were talking about you, and I think you need to reach out to Deacon Hayes. And so I send Deacon Hayes this email about all these service things that I can do. And Deacon Hayes meets with me the very next day, and he says, we do prison ministry outreach, we go feed the homeless, we clothe the homeless, and we do everything that you want to do. And I was like, man, I'm in. 10 toes down, I want to do it all. He's like, well, why don't you just pick one project and we'll work on one project? I was like, no, man, I want to do it all. And so he not knowing my work ethic, my drive,
when you say I'm ready to do
I'm ready to do it. And so what ends up happening is I pull up to the place. It's called Colby House, Texas. Okay. And Colby House, Texas is a prison ministry. You can look it up, KOLBE House, HOUSETX.com. And it's a prison ministry that greets men when they get released from prison. We buy them a week's worth of clothes. We provide them a place to stay. We get them a job and we get them a car so they can get back on their feet as long as they're committed to God. So that's the ministry part. So I pull up to the Colby House in my dope head mobile, and the first thing Deacon Hayes says to me is, we got to do something about that truck. And so Deacon Hayes gives me a number. He passes me the number. I go take it to the guy, and he rewraps the truck. And it was almost as if my prayers were just answered by God directly. Not only did I get what I needed, but it was exactly, specifically what I had prayed for.
Wow.
So, and from that moment, I was all in on God. I was like, okay, God's listening. God understands where I'm going. And you become this new person. And so, the hair's gone.
Whoa, hold up. Whoa, rewind 5. Did you know that he cut his hair off?
I did not. Yeah.
Man, what in the world?
Yeah,
bro?
man. Yeah, man. Short tops in, bro. Yeah.
Nah, you gotta take it off.
Yeah,
again,
man.
Bro, I ain't never seen this boy without his hair. I mean, hey, clip it up. Clip it up, man. Y'all gotta
That's
y'all
a
gotta
whole
take
Brian
a pic of that.
right there.
Hey, man.
Whole Brian right
Hey,
there,
man,
right?
I ain't never not seen this boy with his hair. Did you have your hair in prison?
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah, sure did. 4 curls, 30 years of one hairstyle. I believed so much in that hairdo that I thought that hairdo was me. The image of Toe Down.
That is.
Yeah,
It's like a roster losing his dreads.
Man. Yeah, man. Yeah. So, when God changes your life, you are a new person.
Facts.
So, the things that you thought were you aren't you. Your heart is restless until it rests in God. And that's what my heart was. I was trying to fill everything, women, drugs, money, I was putting all that into my heart, but it wasn't fulfilling.
Bro, I'm proud of you, bro.
So, yeah, man.
Man, we all grow. I'll be glad when I grow up. Y'all
No, get out of here, Mike. You grown already, man.
Y'all can be proud of old Mike D one day, man. But I am sincerely from my heart proud of you, brother.
Thank you, big dog. That means a lot. Coming from another SUC member, man, from where we are, where we were, where we are now, man. It's just, I'm just happy to be here today to tell the story. You know, because so many of our members are not with us today, you know. And so how do we keep telling that story? And you're doing something that is allowing that story to be told and is now heard by many different generations of people. You know, without you, they wouldn't know about Hawk. They wouldn't know about Pokey. They wouldn't know about Mo. They wouldn't know about Screw. And here you are providing a platform so that their legacies can live on, man. That's a beautiful thing.
We call it the Screw Museum, named by Chris Ward, by the way. Screw Museum.
That's my brother.
He called it the Screw Museum over here of natural arts. Man, I'm so proud of you, brother, man,
Yes,
and
sir.
the journey that you on, and keep going. You need anything from us, you know, we behind you 2,000%. You know what I mean? Like 2,000%, brother.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. If all y'all can go check out KolbeHouseTexas.com, KolbeHouseTX.com. I'll give it to y'all. Y'all put on the screen and just check it out and see what we're doing. We're a prison ministry to help other men get on the right path. Because if you don't have a plan when you get out, you're just going to end up back where you were. And if you're in the same environment doing the same thing, you're going to end up right back where you were. And so my mission now is to help other people get on their feet and get right. So where I'm meeting people at and trying to, you know, provide a different opportunity for them for what they, you know, had before. And this is really touching people's lives, man. It's really making that difference out there. And, you know, we were talking about Miss Gay and Mission Yahweh.
Y'all know someone, right?
Yeah,
Five?
man. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Helen Gay. We never met her because she passed,
Yeah.
unfortunately, in 2011. But of
Her
course,
legacy
her
lives
legacy
on.
lives on. That's one of the oldest women in children's shelter.
and let me tell you
in
about
Houston.
them, man. They run this project called Mission Yahweh, and what they do is, if you're a mother and you need a place, they will provide a place to stay for you. They'll provide daycare for your child while you can go out and find a job, and they will feed and house you and take care of you. And so,
For sure.
in cooperation with the Kolbe House, we bring food to them so they have a full kitchen and everything, and we provide food for their pantry and clothing when they need it. And so Kolbe House, Texas, and Mission Yahweh work hand in hand. Deacon Hayes is definitely one of the most amazing men I've ever met in my life, and we're trying to just make an impact in our city.
Man, that's super dope. Shout out to the Mission of Yahweh. Shout out to
Kolbe House, Texas.
Kolbe House, Texas, for sure. But shout out Miss Helen Gay,
Amen.
the daughter. She still works up there.
She works
she's
up
still
there and keep it
involved.
going.
Amazing story
For sure.
behind her. So what happened is there was a young lady who asked her to watch her newborn baby, and the lady doesn't come back for the baby. And so the hood finds out that Miss Gay is taking in children. So next thing you know, Miss Gay has something like 25, 26 kids.
Wow.
And so CPS shows up one day saying, Miss Gay, you can't have these kids here. They're not being taken care of properly. And she's like, well, look around. They're all fed. They're all happy. And the CPS woman looks at her and says, listen, you can't keep all these kids. You got to turn them over to the state. And she goes, well, how can I keep them? And she looks at her and laughs and says, the only way you could keep them if you were going to adopt them all, and nobody's going to do that. The next day, she goes down there, and it's on record, Miss Gay adopted all those kids. It's the largest adoption in a single day from one family.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mike, that's the documentary that me and Ribs did for them on their 60th anniversary.
Yes, sir.
That's deep there, bro. We need to run a special on that, bro.
Yeah.
That's deep, because I was gonna send one of my kids' mother there to help get on her feet. You
Definitely.
know what
It's
I mean?
a place to be, man. The
Yeah.
environment there is amazing. The kids grow up in a loving environment. The women can actually get on their feet if they're being abused or in a bad relationship or they just need help. Go to Mission Yahweh. They'll help you out. They got plenty of room over there. They got some beautiful buildings that they're building over there. It's a great place, and I'm happy to be working with them, man.
For sure. And support counts, especially for them, because they're not federally funded or
right.
state funded, right? So
All on
they're
donations.
All on donations. So every little bit counts, man. But check them out, missiontoyahweh.org.
Yes, sir.
We need to drop a link at the bottom so that they
For
can
sure.
go and
Definitely.
donate if it's in your heart. Or should we put a cash app and we'll send it up there? It don't
Done
matter
deal.
however, but y'all need to support stuff like that because the main part be the embarrassment. People don't want to go get the help that they need. So they just rather sit here and wait on their baby daddy or baby mama to do this or their taxes to roll around. Now y'all fighting more.
That's right.
Get out of the situation, get you some help, baby girl. Get on your feet, have your own money, and guess what? You ain't gonna need no nigga.
That place is so amazing because, like I said, they provide daycare for your kid while you go off to work. When you get home, they have a full restaurant-style cantina where they feed every one of the families there. And there's so many people there. Your kids aren't going to be lonely. They're going to have friends.
Yep.
They have a huge playground. It's just a beautiful
Preschool.
place. It's amazing to see people like this.
Also, like a preschool, so it's
Yeah.
set up like a little.
It's
And
dope.
they sleep there too.
It's a whole camp. They're right in the middle of the hood in Carvindale.
Yep.
They got like whole half of a block.
It
crazy.
start
Do they
out
have
with,
this for men? Do they have anything like this for
well,
men?
that's what we're doing at the Colby House, Texas. So when you come straight out of prison,
you go.
you
got
have a
somewhere to
place.
go.
That's right.
So
So
it makes
you don't have to
sense.
be embarrassed to go to a halfway house.
That's right.
I think that's the thing. Pride is what really stops a lot of us from receiving that help. So we'll go do something else stupid, dumb, to try to keep up with who we used to be.
Well, listen, this Saturday, me and my Colby House team are going to be downtown Saturday bringing clothes and food to the homeless. So if you want to see us out in the streets of H-Town, check me out this Saturday. I'll be right across the street from the ballpark at the old Loaves and Fishes, and we'll be handing out free food and free clothes. If you need some help, come meet me downtown. I got you covered.
Y'all heard it first on the one-on-one,
Too
man.
real.
That's too real, man. Toe down, I love you, brother. I ain't gonna hold you all night, bro. I know you got a scheduled a meeting. It's getting
Yes,
a little
sir.
late, but please bring Bernard back.
Hey, enough
When you
said. I
come
got you
back,
covered on that one.
He
Shout out
loves me
Bernard.
as I love him, so I
Amen.
know he's gonna be like, yeah, I'm
They
ready.
ain't ready
That's
for
right.
that one.
And we
Right.
ready for you, big bro. So
Amen.
bring Bernard back, man, so we can finish telling this incredible story of
I
y'all
love you,
too,
Miggity
man.
D,
I love-
man.
I love you more,
A
brother.
brother from another mother, man. You've always had my back, no questions asked. And anytime I can do something for you, man, all you got to do is pick up the phone. I'll be there.
There it is, man. Y'all heard it right here on the one-on-one. Todan is in the building. Y'all continue to support his rap career as well because that helps help put money in his pocket.
That's right.
Y'all make sure that y'all keep praying for my brother, man. And y'all get in the comments and let y'all know y'all proud, show how proud y'all of our brother, man, because he's growing up more mature and it's what they call, he on his grown man-ish.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. SUC for life.